for this dedication. If you recall, we had a big disco party planned for last year. A hurricane put a stop to that. But I wanted to take this opportunity a year later to thank some of the people that made this possible once we had as many people as we could here. So thank you all for coming. One thing that makes railroading special is that unlike, classic cars, classic airplanes, boats, it's a work of the collective. There are no famous airline pilots, there are no famous race car drivers, there are no famous sea captains in railroading. It is a job that takes dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of people who have made railroading work for 200 years. Railroad preservation we see very much as the same. A project like this that you see here is not something that can be done by somebody toiling in their garage. It took dozens of us to make this happen. So as such, while you're all here, I would like to thank as many of those people as I can publicly. I made an exhaustive list. My apologies if I leave anybody out, but I want to start by with our donors. What got this project starting was our biggest donation, which was a matching grant from Tri-State Railway Historical Society. Thank you to Richie and all of the folks who are our board members from Tri-State. That was a matching grant, and I'm happy to say that we matched that grant with donations from all of you who made that possible. So thank you all very much. Likewise, our biggest individual donor, which is Bill Bossert, who I believe is here somewhere up on the Locomotive. Thank you, Bill, as well as dozens and dozens of people who donate a few dollars or a few $100 to make this possible. Likewise, we owe a big thank you to the DeGennaro family. So Corrado Tino DeGennaro was a mechanic for NJ Transit for many years. He passed away a little more than a year ago, so his family decided that in lieu of flowers they would give donations to us. And his family and friends raised over $1,000 that we put to this locomotive, so thank you to them as well. We are also thankful to the National Railway Historical Society, who this year gave us a $5,000 heritage grant that we intend to put towards the eventual mechanical restoration of this locomotive so that we hopefully one day hear this locomotive run again. And as well, we have a couple people who make this possible. First of all, FMW Solutions. If you saw when we announced this restoration to begin with, we started this restoration with a report from FMW Solutions. They did an exhaustive look through of this locomotive, and we did that because we wanted people to know that when we're working on this locomotive, we know what we're doing, we have the expertise, we know exactly what needs to be done. They did a very good job of that, and I hope you have some confidence that someday we will see this locomotive run again. And with them, too, is Daniel Trump right there, who is one of our mechanics, and he has been helping us work on this locomotive and do some of the mechanical work to it. And likewise, the Railroad Museum of New England, as you may know, has one of the few U-boats like this one. They have been absolutely indispensable in helping us understand how this locomotive works. They were here when we brought it over for the first time so that we know that it works mechanically, helped us find some of those parts. Matt Shaw, chiefly among them, who also helped us paint this locomotive, and Andy Cromer, who is standing over there. We owe you both tremendously. Yes, Railroad Museum of New England and Naugatuck Railroad. So we owe them a lot. They're a great partnership, and we're all very good friends. And then finally, our volunteers. So I wrote down a few names here. There's a lot of people involved in this project. I wrote down a list here of the people who have put more than 200 hours into this project. Wesley Gannett, Anthony Carpentieri, Alan Bird, Billy Wins, Eric Stenzel, Richie King, who is our intrepid chairman, Alan Sherrill, who was our secretary, who I believe might still be in the Hickory Creek. And at the top of the list, Michael. Michael has an incredible 633 hours of volunteer work into this locomotive. Yeah, Michael! That is a grand total of 2,181 hours that were spent on this locomotive to make it look like this in the course of 7 months. So, my last point that I'd like to make to you is that locomotives like this, especially this one, hold a very special place in the hearts of the hundreds that worked on them and the thousands that rode them. This locomotive is not just a showpiece, it is part of people's lives. The U34CH is what we call the first modern locomotive. It set the stage for everything that came after it. Whether people knew or not, this locomotive is a very important part of people's lives, and we think that the work that we put into this, the more than 2,000 hours, is time well spent. So I have a question for all of you, because you obviously have an interest in this locomotive. How many people in this yard would like to someday see this locomotive run? By show of hands. Every one of you is a potential donor. I hope before you leave today, in one of those buckets, either online or in person, you'll donate to see this locomotive run. We can see this locomotive run. We are doing it with all donations, so I hope that every one of you will dig deep. A few dollars, a few $100s, all goes a long, long way to making this possible. Even a small donation adds to the list so that we can show people how many people support what we're doing here. I have one last point to make to all of you. We lied to you a little bit. We are not planning on using that money from the NRH to make this locomotive run. We already have. For the first time in 30 years, a couple days ago, we started this locomotive for the first time. We are going to do that for you right now. Thank you to the work of Daniel Trump and Eric. This locomotive now runs. They are going to start it for you, and if they're ready, ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Got the boy?
This is history. I love it.